Hi there. This discourse is on the spiritual attribute called spiritual valor. Valor is not a word that we seem to commonly use these days. Some of you will know what it means, others may not, so I will explain. Valor is like a very high form of courage or bravery. So it's an honourable bravery, an honourable courage, I suppose you would say. So when we talk about spiritual valor, we're talking about very high form of courage, bravery. Obviously, it still relates to all forms of courage and bravery because everything that we do on our spiritual path has connections to everything that we do in our physical lives, our daily lives. So, how is spiritual valor then a tool for us as spiritual people? It certainly serves to remind us that we need a strong code of ethics to live by. And then we have to have the courage to actually live by it. Because sometimes we may have to stand up to someone or something because according to our code of ethics, we can't just let this slide. Now, some spiritual people are meant to be upfront, out there, obviously trying to make the world a better place, challenging unethical behaviour wherever they see it. You may see those people activists. Not every activist, and maybe that's something that now you know about the spiritual attribute called spiritual valor, that when you see various activists on the news or in the media, wherever you come to see them, you may be able to sort of cast a deeper look at them. Why are they activists? Are they acting out of a very strong code of ethics, one that is morally high and good? Or are they acting out of self-interest? And I'm not pointing the finger at anyone. There may be no activists out there that are acting out of self-interest. I don't know. I think that's something that I need to do too. I said in an earlier video that every time now I do these videos on the spiritual attributes, I'm learning something new. And this is the first time that I've ever associated it in the way that it's just been explained. And I find that very interesting. So those people who are out there, though, on the front lines, challenging unjust regimes or environmental disasters and things like that, they have, when they're doing it for the right reasons, they are people with spiritual valor. They might not even identify as highly spiritual people. In fact, sometimes highly spiritual people don't identify as spiritual. They sometimes identify as agnostic or even atheist. And yet their behaviour shows that they are acting for the highest good of humanity. And to me, that's being spiritual. That's me. That's how I see that. You may or may not agree with me, and that's okay. the word spiritual is in a lot of these attributes, isn't it? So I guess it's apt that at some stage we do refer to that word even. Now, I'm just talking to you as a non-activist, but possibly some of you who listen to these videos at some stage are activists. But whether you are or not, same principles apply. Whatever you're standing up for, it'll be because you consider it to be you're standing up for the right thing. This is something that's important to you, and you have the courage to stand up to it. And as I said, some of it is in the public arena. Most of it is probably very private. A lot of spiritual people, when they awaken, and I'm talking about in this current lifetime that I'm kind of your peer in, I'm one generation, but this modern world we live in, depending on the country you live in, of course, but in a lot of countries now today, we do have that freedom to challenge long-held religious/spiritual beliefs. So we're not going to be put in jail for it. Certainly in countries where they are, then it does take a lot of spiritual valor to stand up publicly for those beliefs. And sometimes those consequences are awful. And I take off my hat, if I was wearing one, to those people. But I'm mainly gearing these towards the average person walking their path. But you will still find that you have to stand up and have the courage of your convictions, because that's what spiritual valor is about. It may simply be in a conversation with someone else that you're close to, perhaps someone you respect, or somebody that you don't want to cause their displeasure to come down upon you, for whatever reason. And it will happen if you're consciously and willingly walking a spiritual path. It'll happen. There will be a time where you'll have to come out of the closet when it comes to your beliefs. And that's where spiritual valor comes in. That when you can see that, no, I can't remain silent, I can't pretend to agree, because if I agree with this, then I've thrown my weight with it, which may mean that decisions are made that lead on to other things. And so I have to at least try to put my side forward so that a more fair and equitable arrangement can be made, because that's what we're about as spiritual people. It's not about praying. It's not about meditating. They're all they can be part of it, but no, it's what you do, what you stand for. What are you prepared to give up or stand up for? If you remain silent because you're too afraid to let somebody know what you truly believe, then it's as if you were doing it. It's, in a way, it was as if you were supporting it. We have to think carefully about those things. Sometimes it's simply about your own spiritual beliefs, not necessarily, something going on that's ethical or that you consider to be unethical behavior, and you feel that as a spiritual person you need to speak up regardless of the consequences to yourself. Sometimes it's because you're in your family and they believe very strongly a certain way and you're the person who's challenging their beliefs, but you may not have had the courage to say anything yet. Now, I'm not suggesting that if you're that person and you're reading this now, or listening to this now, that you have to suddenly find the courage to go home and tell everybody, well, I think I disagree with what you all believe in. I believe in this now. No, I'm not suggesting you do that. What I'm suggesting is that you consider whether at some stage maybe you should let them know. And I don't mean in a challenging way. Allow them to have their belief system. But there may, and actually more than likely, will come a time where you'll have to make that decision. Am I going to be honest and say what I truly believe or what I truly disbelieve and take the consequences? Maybe these people I care about will reject me because of this. Maybe they won't. Maybe they'll surprise you. But you don't know that. You don't know whether you're going to be rejected or whether you're going to be accepted. And that's where the spiritual valor comes in. This is something that you realise that you have reached the point where you can't, by your silence, let everybody think that you agree with them on certain things when you don't. For your own growth, for your own progression along your spiritual path, to fulfill your spiritual direction, you have to find the courage to make a stand. It doesn't have, well, it shouldn't be in anger. That's what you want to avoid at all costs. That's why you need to put some thought into your situation and think, am I in this, am I likely to be in this situation? And if so, start thinking about how can I tell people, show people really who I truly am as a spiritual person without being angry, without being resentful, or without having any negative emotions. How can I do it so that I just present myself and have the courage to be judged? Because that's usually what happens. We are judged. And it takes courage to be judged. I don't think there's a lot more that I can say about this. It is a really personal one. And I want you to think about it. Maybe you're totally accepted by your family and friends for your beliefs, but it's possible that there will still be a time where you will be challenged somewhere. So it might be an idea just to think about, well, how will I handle this so that I come across, so that I show them what being a true spiritual person really is when it comes to this. I'm standing up for my belief system and I want to present it in a way where people, they might not believe in it and agree with it, but they really can't fault me for my behaviour. Sometimes we have to do these things as simulations. We do it and we go through it and we work out what we're going to do and all of that sort of, we have it all worked out, and then we never have to use that plan because all we had to do was show that we knew we understood, and we knew what to do. And yet there'll be another person who actually does have to put their plan into action. And we never know which one of them we are going to be, do we? It's not easy to be spiritually valorous. It's not easy to be courageous at any level, is it? And certainly being courageous at any level helps to build the muscle of spiritual valor. It really does. In all those areas that don't seem to have any spiritual connection at all, that we are brave, that we have courage. That builds our capacity for spiritual valor, it really does. So once again, thank you for listening to me. Please take some of these things into meditation. Find your own understanding of what spiritual valor is. Thank you.